Hello, I'm Misha.
And I'm Nicole, and we're Ritual Común.
Listen for my how.
Okay, so today we are talking about the inner child.
I'm going to be discussing different types of attachment styles that happen during childhood that can potentially lead to these wounds. And I think this is a buzzword I've been hearing quite a bit lately, the inner child, like healing your inner child. And I like the way that it sounds because it sounds a lot more inviting to me than saying working through childhood trauma,
right?
Because you might not recognize it as trauma, or you might not identify it. It also kind of sounds scarier if you say it that way.
So inner child wounds, and a lot of people that come to me, and just in my practice of learning about the inner child and what we do to nourish the inner child is typically because we do find some sort of blockage in our life where we really don't understand where it's coming from, and it's so deep rooted that actually you find out when you do an inner child meditation, or if you do a practice that can activate or bring the inner child out within you, you start to realize that, oh my gosh, like these things did happen to me when I was little, and this is why I feel so scared about these things, or so angry, or so just like confused, or whatever it is that you may sense and feel. And you can actually connect with that inner child at whatever age things happen to you, or even different ages and different stages of your life, and sort of be there for them and be with them and kind of heal them in the way that you needed healing, and step up and be your own parent or your own loved one or trusted one, and say, hey, I'm better now, like I'm okay, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times the reason that these blocks are hard to see, and when you finally, I think Misha, you were telling me, when you finally realized it was like, oh yeah, of course. But when you're in the thick of it, it doesn't seem like a block to you because that's how it has been for your whole life. Like you haven't known something different. And maybe you can do the comparing thing of, you know, my friend's mom and dad were really different. And I'm not saying that that all of her parents are like horrible, right? No, they're not. It's just that they've learned from their own lives how to be parents. And this can affect us in different ways. So you can be a parent that gives their child enough space but is always there for them. It's going to have they'll most likely have a child that is securely attached, or somebody that understands like, I'm loved, I'm cared for no matter what, right? And this will make it so that that person is able to take more risks. That does not mean that you're not going to have a childhood wound at some point, because maybe something else happened in your life that created this wound that will show up later on in life. So there's 4 different kinds of attachment style, and if you know anything about Bowlby, he's the one who basically came up with this whole theory. There's 4 different ones. There's the secure attachment style, there's the ambivalent attachment style, the avoidant attachment style, and the disoriented child. And all of these, if you really want to go into the literature of it all, will end up linking in your adulthood, right? Like if somebody has been securely attached their whole lives, they're going to turn out a certain way once they're older. If you have been avoidant, then in your relationships you'll also kind of show some of those patterns. And same with all of them. Not to say that somebody who had a really traumatic childhood cannot heal along the way and be reparentified. We'll say usually with psychology that you've met somebody along the way, a grandmother, a friend's mom, a teacher, whatever it may be, that showed you that a healthy relationship can look a different way. It'll make it easier for that child to fare. But sometimes it's the complete opposite. You were securely attached as a child with your parents. A series of events happen throughout your life that will affect the way that you relate to others. So for me, that's really good to know, because a lot of the times you'll see it even in siblings, like the way that a sibling will have really different relationships than another one, and you're like, wait, like we had the same parents. Right. And it ends up being that a lot of the circumstances surrounding each sibling were different, which will turn out a little bit different. And that's why I think the healing of the inner child is so powerful is because it teaches you a really healthy way to conceptualize forgiveness. A lot of the times people will be like, well, I can't forgive because maybe that person isn't in my life anymore, or they're not willing to even accept what happened in my childhood. But forgiveness is something that is really personal and really inside yourself, and I think the inner child work is really great for that.
Yeah, and it's definitely a concept where you can step into the subconscious when you're in meditation, or even in your innermost thoughts, even in a daydream. You can step into the subconscious mind and ask yourself, what do I need to forgive, or what do I need to heal here? And a lot of times it doesn't matter if somebody says I'm sorry to you. If you can say to yourself, I forgive you, like I forgive you, that completely takes away all of the heaviness and the weight of that situation for you, because it's not in their hands for you to forgive, right? And that's one of those things about stepping into your inner child, is sometimes we're still so afraid of dealing with the things that we had to experience. And so when we can step into our childhood, you can see your inner child. Are they angry at you? Are they scared? Are they confused? And how do they approach you? And when you're like, hey, I'm here for you now, like I want to help because I know you feel alone, or whatever it is that you feel, you can really step into a space with your inner child and assist. And like what Nicole said is, you can forgive. You can be like, this is okay, let's forgive this. Like,
and it's really empowering, because all of a sudden your whole life we might have been giving a lot of power to others. Right. I have fear of intimacy because life has taught me that I can't trust my partners, and maybe you'll learn that from childhood because you had a single mother, or your parents were always fighting, or something happened that you're repeating the pattern, and you're always seeing it from the other side of like, if my parents had been different, if my partners had been different, I wouldn't have to feel this way. And I think when you finally get to do that work and you realize that there is a part of you that is not being acknowledged, and if you don't acknowledge that, you can't ask for it. So if you can't acknowledge, like, I have a fear of abandonment, you can't ask your partner for like, hey, listen, like when I text you, it's really important to me that you text me back. Maybe not right away, but just at least acknowledge, because I get fearful, and it's not you, but it's something within me that triggers me.
And for those of you who do have abandonment issues or intimacy issues, since we actually directly experienced both of those issues in our own lives, if you have any questions about those specific things, but I do want to suggest that when you are starting a new relationship with someone, if you have something like an abandonment issue and they are ghosting you, it's going to trigger you so much, because that literally goes back to when you were a kid. And if you notice like higher anxiety about certain things, or you feel like you're just like, you don't trust and you're avoidant and you just want to get away from somebody, if you had intimacy issues, then you realize, oh wait, like this behavior is probably from something else.
Yeah.
So definitely check in with yourself. Ask yourself, is there anything that I can heal inside? And even if not, if you want to do an inner child meditation, we'll link it below. Even just to thank your inner child, or just say, hey, like I love you. I'm here for you. Yeah. What do you need from me? Like, are we buddies? Are we friends, or what?
Yeah, and I think for me, I consider myself really privileged to have had a really healthy childhood. And sometimes for me, my inner child work doesn't really come with healing wounds, but with identifying that part of myself within me now.
True.
Because the way that I was when I was a little girl was this like really fearless little thing,
like a fighter.
Yeah. and like very assertive, and I don't know how I do know I had really great parents that always encouraged me, but also as I grew up, a lot of things around me societally, like I moved countries a few times, like there was a lot going on in my world that kind of dimmed that light. And so sometimes doing that childhood work is helpful to kind of identify, like, this is who I am also. Yeah. And like, don't forget it.
And I will say that inner child does not just mean small child work. You can go from literally any age in the past, and I think it's still really helpful, because I know that for myself, I've done a lot of teenage work, because I was really rebellious and I was really angry as a teenager, and just going into my teenagehood self and saying, hey, like, where are you focusing on, and like all of this anger and all of this, like where is it coming from, and like let me show you what it's going to be like, let me help heal that, and so that I can calm that part in myself. And now it has actually given me a really strong sense of fulfillment and peace, because I know that what I felt then was not heard.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, hey, I hear you, I know what you're feeling, and I'm going to give that to you, because no one else can really.
And very quickly, I just want to put like a trigger warning. If talking about this has somehow like brought something up for you, seek help. You know, in a lot of cases, yes, meditation is really helpful, but both Misha and I have done our own individual therapy.
Right.
And sometimes if you remember that whatever happened to you at some point in your past life has been really traumatic, like childhood abuse or anything like that, it's really important that you find a professional to help you, because going into a meditation in that state when you haven't really dealt with it can be really triggering. So I just want to put that out there, that if it is something that you feel like, if I open this can of worms right now, I might just fall apart. I'm not saying avoid that issue, I'm just saying find somebody that can give you individual help.
Okay, well, we hope that you like this video, and we hope your inner child liked the video too. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up, and if not, just scroll away. Let us know in the comments below any information, questions, experience that you've had, and we can't wait to see you again.
If you like what you hear and you want to keep the conversation going, listen to our podcast, Ritual Común Contigo.
Also, check out our Instagram, where we have affirmation, oracle cards, and give a special message just for you.
Make sure to check out our website,
ritualcomún.com.
Inhala,
Exhala. Inhala. Exhala.